Welcome back, viewers. In the past, I have made several videos saying that I regret buying G9 Mark II, and I stick to my word. There are so many issues with G9 Mark II, and I still regret buying it. I have no happiness using it. G9 Mark II inherently is a very capable camera. The images out of G9 Mark II are excellent, whether it is photos or videos. The dynamic range of all the photos are very good. Unfortunately for the images, the ISO noise creep up very fast, even in the ISOs 200 to 400, and I'm really surprised why it happens. I notice this especially when I'm shooting like fast moving objects, when I'm trying to freeze them, like birds in flight or something like that. In spite of the limitations in the Micro Four Thirds system, G9 Mark II really brings really good image quality to the table. It is very evident from the video quality that I'm able to see from it. That's where the good news of G9 Mark II ends. I do appreciate Panasonic giving a separate dial for the drive modes. It is very useful in many conditions. I can switch between single shot mode, burst mode, high burst mode, time-lapse mode, high resolution mode, likewise even the timer mode. So I can switch between like these 6 options, and it's amazing. It is very handy that I'm able to use it in the pinch of the moment. Whatever I try to shoot, I can immediately change the mode to shoot what I want. This drive mode dial execution is amazing. But I have a lot of negatives to say about the practicality of G9 Mark II. First of all, the boot up time. This camera is not suitable for anybody like me who want to shoot in the wild, in the nature, trying to capture an amazing moment which may not occur twice. If you were like me who goes to places, spends so much time traveling, being in a particular location, anticipating for the moment, and you are waiting for that one moment to capture an amazing scene, you will be disappointed that the boot up time of the camera is so slow that the moment is lost. In the past 3 months, it has been happening to me, and I'm really frustrated about it. I have tested the boot up time and start to record time, and I have made a separate video on that. It really is frustrating for a person like me. Being a hybrid shooter, I want versatility in both photography and video making. The quality being good is not enough for me. There are 3 things why I considered buying G9 Mark II. Number 1, portability. Number 2, image stabilization. Number 3, weather sealing. So in these 3 regard, I want to see if G9 Mark II is helping me capturing what I want at the moment. I want to capture amazing moments in the highest bitrate possible from G9 Mark II, which means if it is slow motion, it could be from 600 to 800 megabytes per second. If it is the regular 25 frames per second, it could be like 400 megabytes per second. I'm not going to use the ProRes mode because it requires SSD. Even if I'm going to use all-intra codec, I will have to have an SSD connected for 4K 120 frames per second. This limitation is frustrating for me. So I tried using the SSD for one full entire trip in Erawan National Park, and the dangling of the wire is always frustrating. You compromise the portability because of the dangling. When you're hiking, you want to be as convenient as possible because you are already using so many things like bags, tripods, everything in your hand. And also, you have to make sure that whatever you are carrying in your hand is not falling down, and also it's not hitting anything else. By connecting a wire on the side and having an SSD record the content, first of all, it is extremely slow to boot up and go to the ready to record mode. Secondly, you compromise weather sealing. Thirdly, you have to be very cautious not to hit anything so that the port doesn't break or the wire doesn't get disconnected, etc. There are so many things that could go wrong if you were to record using SSD. Who is this G9 Mark II for? G9 Mark II is for somebody who want to record in the studio conditions where he will be able to rig it up and then use it in the production conditions. Yes, maybe for you it is okay, but for a hybrid shooter, this is unacceptable. I would rather want to have a GH6 body or any other Panasonic body with CFX Plus Type B cards. Out of the 3 things that I mentioned, We are losing the weather sealing capability by using an SSD, and also we are losing the portability of the camera when we are going to use the SSD to record the maximum bitrate. Image stabilization, on the other hand, is exceptional. I like it. It is very good compared to all other cameras. It is on par with my Pocket 3, and I'm amazed. It's really good. The only camera that I have that has a better image stabilization is actually my Galaxy S23 Ultra, which is a phone camera. Of course, the image quality is much less compared to G9 Mark II, so I'm not even comparing. In the interchangeable lens camera segment, this G9 Mark II has the best image stabilization I've ever seen. But would you want to buy this camera just for that? No. When it comes to the practicality, like I said, the boot up time, secondly, having the dials around where you place your fingers is so annoying. There are countless instances where I have changed the dial in the front and rear because both places are very convenient to place your fingers, and if the dials are there, you're bound to change the settings, and it has happened countless times. Being a hybrid photographer, you anticipate the moment and you keep your finger very close to the shutter, which means that it's it's gonna happen. The settings are gonna change regardless by accident. And also, there are a few questions I want to ask Panasonic which boggles my mind. When Panasonic decided to use S5 II's body, why not incorporate the same color science with it? S5 II's color science is amazing. I've seen professionals use S5 Mark II and the color is brilliant. If it is red, even in the auto white balance mode, the colors are so brilliant. When it comes to G9 Mark II, if you are going to use the auto white balance mode, the colors are so bad. So bad, so annoyingly drastically warm and drastically cold. It's not consistent at all. And no one is talking about it. I have seen so many reviewers praising G9 Mark II, but when it comes to the practical issues, why? Why is it like just my body that I'm facing all these issues? Why isn't Panasonic taking the same color science as S5 Mark II and implementing it in G9 II? Okay, if you're taking the same body, then you have to have a similar kind of output. But no, we have better bodies from Panasonic. GH6 is one of the greatest bodies I have ever used. The weight is so theirs. Weight is so balanced. There's no dial around the shutter button. The on and off switch is high, like it is very accessible, which means it's more convenient to turn it on or off. Unlike G9 Mark II, the switch itself is like so tiny, and it's also hidden beneath the cage. And I'm like, why? Who came up with the design? Who is the extraordinary, brilliant person who never used the camera came up with this design? I'm like, it makes me go nuts. Why would Panasonic implement this body design? Even the first version of G9, the original G9's body was amazing. It's almost perfect, but they tried to do the S5 II's body for some reason, and here we are ending up with impractical solutions. I despise G9 Mark II for one very reason, that it is such a capable camera, but it's crippled with all these things that I mentioned. Another thing that I want to mention is the lock in the SD card door. How difficult is it to do? It's like a $2,000 body, and you don't even have a lock in the SD card door? I mean, it's a micro four thirds camera system. It's not a full frame camera. It's equally priced with S5 II. And you don't have a lock in the SD card door? I mean, this is outrageous. This is outrageously priced. This camera is not worth for the money. I'm getting pissed. I'm sorry. This camera is not priced right. If this camera were like $1,500, then it's okay because of its impractical situation. It's not worth it. This G9 Mark II has the potential to be one of the best cameras. I have even crowned this camera to be the best camera of the year 2023 in one of the videos here. But now, after using it for 3 months, I feel like this is the worst camera ever in the history because it is so capable, but it's so crippled at the same time. Why would anybody do this? I'm so frustrated with it that I want to sell this camera right away. I don't want to use it. This is the final video I'm going to make why I regret G9 Mark II, and that's it. I have consolidated all the points to you. Practicality when it comes to hybrid shooting, G9 Mark II is not there. Hands down. If you don't agree with me, please comment below. You might be using in a different use case. I don't agree with any other argument. I have seen better bodies. I have seen better bodies for similar pricing. I've seen much better implementation of the same system, and it's for $2,000. It's not worth the money. Why would Panasonic do something like this? It's mind-boggling for me. Who came up with this? I honestly, if you are a hybrid shooter, if you're seriously considering G9 Mark II, I would sincerely ask you to consider everything else before you consider G9 Mark II. This is not the hybrid camera. This is the worst camera ever. It's been so crippled and it's overly priced. The sixth time I'm recording this video because of microphone issues. The inbuilt camera microphone is not that great, so I'm trying to record using the newer DJI microphone. Is it focusing? So this is the newer DJI transmitter 2, but this is the older version DJI transmission. This is the older version DJI transmitter. I am recording internally in the DJI transmitter 2. This came with my Pocket 3, and I'm testing out how this records. So if you're wondering why I'm using like two microphones, the older version microphone is recording into the camera, while this newer version is recording internally. Apparently, this microphone, this transmitter unit can be used as a standalone recorder which records 32-bit audio, and I tested in my previous video that it was really great.